Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Making Feria. My name is Chris Medina. I am an entrepreneur, and today I have a really good friend, Nathan McCusker. We actually have a business in the same city here of Montebello. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And he owns a brewery. It's called Angry Horse Brewing here in the city of Montebello, California. And tell us a little bit about yourself, about how you got started in your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, so I got started my entrepreneurial journey probably very young. I mean, in Boy Scouts selling cactuses in Arizona to raise funds for the Boy Scouts. But in real life, working for a nonprofit is where I really started getting the entrepreneurial bug. Working for the American Cancer Society, a very entrepreneurial organization, working with communities to do grassroots community development, survivor events, Relay for Life program. And that's where I kind of got the bug for wanting to open a business. So from there, we started doing like an event planning company and then a little bit of consulting for nonprofit work. And it eventually led to me wanting to tie together two things I was really passionate about. I was a home brewer back then, so I really passionate about brewing beer, but also really passionate about philanthropy. So we started Angry Horse Brewing to kind of fuel both of those needs. So we're aspire to be a benefit corporation, a certified B Corp, but right now we have 10% of our profits go to local nonprofits. We're really engaged in the community and trying to bring back the boulevard.
Gotcha. For the people who don't know, what is philanthropy? Or can you give us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's doing good. It's raising funds for organizations that you support or getting involved in the community to help make the social change you want to make in the world. So for me, it's like the Rotary Club is a big nonprofit that we really like, and we're both part of.
Yes, definitely. We're both in the Rotary Club here in Montebello.
And other than that, there's the American Cancer Society. There's some great organizations that we try to support. In fact, we have a big event coming up for the Pink Boot Society, which is the organization for female brewers. So we're doing a collaboration brew day on March 8th, where we're inviting women from the community to come in and brew a batch of beer with us and learn about the process and about Pink Boots.
Wow, nice. Excellent. What other business ventures have you had? Has it only been the brewery? Like you've always brewed, like you said, you brewed beers at home. Is that how you got started?
Yeah, so we started out brewing beers in my garage out of my garage in Eagle Rock. And then we moved to downtown LA and I was brewing out of my 1,200 square foot loft. So that's how we got started in the brewing world. When we decided that we wanted to go pro after winning a couple of awards, in like 2012, I guess, is when we made the decision. We started reaching out to every brewery we could, saying, hey, can we come learn from you? Can we brew on your system? So we were blessed to be invited out and to brew on some pretty amazing systems, Prospero systems and Sprinkman systems, and with some pretty phenomenal brewers. So we learned the ropes a little bit and joined a couple organizations that could help us get a little bit better. Me being a little bit of a geek, got into like the American Society of Brewing Chemists and the Master Brewers Association, and just tried to learn as much as we possibly could before opening.
Okay, Nathan. So what else inspired you to become a brewer?
I think it was just a passion for the beer. I originally started homebrewing when I found a recipe online that was supposed to be George Washington's beer.
Okay.
So I thought it'd be really cool to brew a batch of beer that was our founding father. So
Yeah.
at that point, I didn't know that it was legal, so I went to a local library because I was afraid the FBI or something would track my IP address if I Googled how to brew beer, and looked up how to brew beer and found out there was a local homebrew club that had just started. There was a brewery about to open in our community, so I reached out to them and to see if I could help paint walls or whatever I could do to help them get open. That was Eagle Rock Brewing with Ting and Jeremy.
Awesome.
One of my favorite breweries in LA.
Cool.
But I brewed probably one of the worst batches of beer you'd ever taste.
Okay.
But during that process of trying to figure out what I did wrong, I just started reading. And the more I read, the more I wanted to try, the more I wanted to do. And it got me to the point where I was brewing almost a batch a weekend and giving away a lot of beer because I don't drink that much beer.
Yeah.
I like to have samples and stuff, but we'd give away
A lot of
beer. Would have parties over at our place with the Rotarians. I was in the Pasadena Club at that point, so we do brunches or different things to have people come over and sample beer while you're here. But yeah, I got the bug by making a mistake and trying to figure out what I did wrong. But in trying to figure out what I did wrong, I kept learning new techniques and new things I should have been doing, and water chemistry and hop utilization and how to make a better batch of beer. I also found out that the recipe probably wasn't really George Washington's. He wasn't a brewer, so
Yeah.
the whole thing was built on a foundation of lies. But
Oh, okay.
it's what got me started in wanting to brew beer,
see.
and joined the East Side Brewers and started going to meetings
Yeah.
where people would give feedback on beer. Wasn't a great member because I worked a full-time job and consulted on the side and brewed beer on the side, so I didn't make it to as many meetings as I would have liked to. But the meetings we did, going to those local homebrew clubs, was pretty phenomenal. Like, great way
Awesome.
to meet like-minded individuals, several of which actually have breweries in LA County now. But also just get feedback about beer and build that community as well around beer.
Excellent, excellent. So yeah, guys, I mean, Nathan's a perfect example of kind of like what Rich Dad Poor Dad says, right? Like when you're trying to start a business, you have to first go reach out to those people who are already doing it,
Yeah.
and offer to volunteer so that you can learn what they're doing, learn their beer recipes, and yeah, you'll learn the business, and then one day you can go out and do your own thing. Like
Absolutely.
Nathan, hopefully, right? So, when do you feel comfortable enough to already say, "Hey, you know what? I'm ready to launch my own business"? How did that go about?
Well, we decided to start the process in 2012 when we started winning awards. So there are a couple beers we got some awards for, and that's when we said, we might be making some good stuff here. Let's make this happen. And that's when we started, finding mentors in the industry and growing. It wasn't until 2014 we incorporated, and that's when you have skin in the game. Like we filed the
Yeah.
paperwork with the state. We're going to open at this point. And that's when we really started digging in, going to the Craft Brewers Conference and learning. We really started realizing that we had no idea what we were doing,
Yeah.
even though we've done all this research and built business plans. I've been working with the SBA and the SBDC, and so we doubled down and started learning more and going to more breweries and asking more questions, getting more feedback. But we finally, in 2016, it was kind of one of those moments where it's like you're either doing it or you're not. So we, in working with the city and our landlord, took the leap and signed a lease that essentially put all of our butts on the line. And once we did that, it was full steam ahead. It's
Yes.
burning the boats, if you will.
Yeah. You're committed 100%. There's no going back anymore.
I think it's funny, another brewery that opened up, it was something else I had said to them as they were debating about it over and over and over again through the course of a year. It was, you either are doing it or you're not. Burn the boats, make it happen. And like a week later, they called me and said, we don't know what we're doing. We're going to need a lot of help, but we just signed a lease and we just put a down payment and we're opening. So I'm a firm believer in you're not committed until you're committed. But once you commit, burn the boats and be done with it. It's full steam ahead. There's no retreat at this point.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you want to start a business, right? It's like what Nathan said. You got to burn the boats. You got to commit 100%. Even myself. When I started Virtue Hearing, I only had $10,000 to my name. I had just got my hearing aid dispensing license, and I opened my little office here in Montebello. It was over here by Slauson and Telegraph. It's like the very end of Montebello, and it's like industrial. So it was this big plaza, and I was like, you got to go way far in the plaza. Like, there was zero walking traffic, so I had to advertise to get people in. But like you said, man, I had to burn the boats.
Yeah.
So Nathan, out of all the places you could have opened up a brewery, why did you choose Montebello?
Yeah, it's a question we get asked a lot. We actually originally were opening up in downtown LA because that's where I lived. We were negotiating on a couple different spaces and, really running into some brick walls when it came to City Hall, getting through the red tape, trying to navigate the CUP process. And one of the city council members here in Montebello had known about our company, knew the other people that were trying to open in Montebello. So they reached out to us for a meeting saying, we want to have you in Montebello. We like your guys' mission. We love that you're a benefit corporation and you're all about community. And we're trying to bring back the Boulevard. Why don't you come talk to us? So we assume that they want us in, Washington or some other industrial area of Montebello, and drove around, looked at some spaces and decided, we're really not into this. So sat down, let them know, we looked here, we looked there, we're not interested. He said, well, why are you even looking there? We want you on the Boulevard.
Yeah.
So there are two spaces that that city council member really wanted to have us focus on. One was in the building we currently are in, and one right across the street, which is now another great development.
Yes.
But he talked about, their goal about bringing the Boulevard back to what it was, years ago, where it was the thriving, happening place of Boulevard Nights. And it fit into what we want to do of developing community, really coming in and being part of the community. Our motto is, we're craftsmanship and community unite. So, we took a risk and talked with the city council person. He asked what we were having a hard time with and what we would help us to make the decision to come here. And it all came down to, we'd love to come here. We love what you guys are trying to do. But what we're really having a hard time with is getting everybody into a room so that, fire department doesn't give us notes that we then send to the police department, who gives us the exact opposite notes that we then make the change that goes back to fire. They ask us why we didn't change it.
Yeah.
So can we just get everyone in one room to help look at our plans, tell us what we need to change, and we make those changes? Said, what are you doing next Thursday?
Okay.
So got everybody in that room. We had building and safety, we had the fire department, community development, pretty much everyone we needed to have there. And we went through the process, and they gave us, I think, 17 notes. Came back to the space because we'd already signed the lease, and made the changes, and full steam ahead.
So a lot of persistency. You had to do a lot of also networking, right? I mean, how did you, so you said you started in LA and you were just applying for all the city permits and stuff, getting to meet all the city individuals. And how did you come across that city council from Montebello?
They actually came across us. They had known somebody else wanting to open and had heard about us, and we had kind of taken over for those folks that wanted to open here. And so they reached out to us saying, hey, we've heard about Angry Horse. We understand the company that was going to open here isn't. We'd love to talk with you guys. So he came to us, and it was, 2 or 3 meetings with him, and we opened the door. We actually hadn't started doing the licensing in LA. We were still just going through the initial part of trying to figure out what licensing would work in what areas.
So what does it take to open up a brewery?
Yeah, so I think it starts with having a vision and having good product. That's number one, that's paramount above all else, is making good beer. After that, the logistics of it is, building out a business plan, building out a marketing plan, and then there's a lot of licensing and regulations. So once you get your location, you have to submit for a conditional use permit. Conditional use permit then is used to get your alcoholic license and your TTB license. But you go through a lot of licensing, a lot of background checks. We're regulated by a lot of organizations.
Yeah.
Between ABC, TTB, AQMD, health department. So there's a lot of licensing that goes behind it, and we could definitely go in a little bit deeper with all the different licenses. But it's a lot of paperwork. We hired a great attorney, the craft beer attorney, who kind of helped us to navigate all that. I think it's really important to have good people on your team. So good accountant, good attorney.
Definitely.
I think highly recommended for any business, really.
Yeah.
Especially in California.
Oh, yeah.
Having good folks is really important.
Definitely. So these licenses, I mean, do they come with an expensive cost? I mean, I can imagine, I've heard, that liquor stores or, anybody who sells alcohol has to have an alcohol license. But, I mean, I don't know anything past that. So what can you give us there?
The process of getting the license is more expensive than the license. The conditional use permit process is a fairly expensive process, especially now. And when we first opened, it was before Montebello changed their fee structure, so it was much cheaper, a little bit easier, but it includes some mailings, going to City Hall, with no guarantee that you'll get it. You could pass everything, and the council could say no.
Wow.
So it's, it's a little bit nerve-wracking when you're investing, $5, $8, I think it's now $8,000 or $9,000.
Yeah.
Just for the conditional use permit. After that, the ABC license isn't too bad. Going through the initial plan check and everything is a little bit more expensive, but annually it's $1,000 a year, a little bit less than that, I think. So it's not too bad.
Okay.
But then you're also paying taxes for every gallon of beer that you're doing, and federally we pay taxes on every barrel, and a barrel is 31 U.S. gallons. So it's excise tax. We have federal and state. So the fees that they get are more through the taxes than the actual fee process. But since the pandemic, we've actually seen a pretty sizable increase in fees across the board with county, state, and federal. So, or I guess just county and state. Federal didn't go up.
Gotcha.
So it's...
So
it's always fun coming out of stuff like that and seeing all the changes that have to happen for things to be successful moving forward.
Big investments then, huh? And then,
Yeah.
do you have to take any classes or courses to get those licenses? I can imagine you have to learn something, and you have to take certain exams, or how does that work?
No, there isn't an exam process. They do expect you to know the laws, know the rules, and then there are fines and penalties if you make mistakes. So again, working with our attorney, she sent us over where we could start reading about ABC law, TTB law. ABC law, every year we buy a book. It's about 4 inches thick.
Yeah.
That is the California Alcoholic Beverage Act.
Yeah.
We don't read that whole book, but it is our reference guide that we can flip to different pages and try to find out different things.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, guys. I mean, like Nathan said, it's important to have good people on your team because, I mean, doing it yourself, I mean, is it possible? It probably is, but you're going to waste a lot more time, and who knows, maybe even a lot more money, because before you even start applying for all this, you had already signed the lease, right?
Yeah.
Like you're already in, you have your physical location, you're paying rent, and you still have to get all these licenses, right?
Yeah, and it's definitely possible to do it on your own. I have good friends that just opened up their own distributing company, and they went through the licensing process on their own. They did it without an attorney, and it was a little bit more time consuming, the back and forth. But when you're paying a lease on a building and have these other expenses coming up, you want things to go as smoothly as possible, because every time there's an error where you didn't cross a T, you didn't dot an I, you didn't get something notarized appropriately, it could be a 30, 60-day window before you hear back that, oh, you need to make these changes. You make the change, send it in, another 30, 60 days later, oh, you have to make these other 4 changes. So it can become a time-consuming process if you don't have somebody to help steward you along. But that could be an attorney like the craft beer attorneys, or it could be another brewery. Like I know some other friends that just have a network. They have, they're standing on the shoulder of giants, people that have done it before that have kind of like mentored them through the process. So
Yeah, definitely. So time is money, mentorship is important, which let's get into that. What type of mentorship did you have coming up? I mean, it's super important. Would you agree?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, in hindsight, I wish I had more mentors. I wish I had more formal mentors through the process. We did get involved with the SBDC and had a mentor through that kind of helped us with our business plan, especially our financial models. They looked through it with a fine-tooth comb. We were seeking some investment, so we wanted to make sure that was tight, and it wasn't. We were way off. Like our financials were aspirational to say the least. But yeah, we had mentors through that. Through Rotary Club, there were some mentors I talked with that were really great with finance, really great with different things. The things that I wish we would have done more to try to gain mentors is just more people in the industry, more people that had opened. As we were opening, we kind of created, I won't call it like a formalized mastermind, but we had somewhat of a mastermind where it was just like other people opening at the same time that we met. And at LA Beer Week, we actually all spoke together at a forum. And we're able to pick each other's brains as we're going through the different process of opening, find out what's working for somebody and how did you do this, what did you do there, how did you make this work. So that was extremely helpful. But having mentors that can help you through that process so that you're not having to recreate the wheel is extraordinarily important. And I wish we had more in beer when we first opened.
Definitely. So yeah, mentorship, again, it's important so that you can avoid mistakes, make everything much faster and efficient, right?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
So Nathan, tell us a little bit more about Angry Horse, like the brand behind it. What do you guys stand for and all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. We so our motto is we're craftsmanship and community unite. So we're big in trying to create the highest quality craft beer in Los Angeles County and hopefully in California.
Yes.
So that's paramount. But we also are really big into community. So we try to create an opportunity for the community to gather and have conversations over a pint of beer. Sometimes those are conversations where people are debating and having a lively discussion about left versus right. Sometimes it's where two people meet and fall in love. And we've actually seen that here in our tap room, and some people go on to get married. So we're trying to create a place where the community can come and have conversation over craft beer.
Nice.
So behind that, our whole philosophy is how do we create experiences and build community to leave this indelible mark on the human soul. So that's everything we do is kind of crafted around that, from the beers that we brew to the events that we get involved with, and now even to the nonprofits that we support. It's all about how are we going to leave that indelible mark on the human soul.
Building relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So at the beginning, what were some challenges you had to overcome, and what are like your keys, your main keys to success?
Great question. When it comes to challenges, I mean, they're the simple things. From when we first opened, we only had 5 beers on tap and thought we were doing a soft opening, and we had 200 people in here, and it was shoulder to shoulder, and we ran out of beer our first weekend.
Nice.
So good challenge to have, but challenge nonetheless. I think, other challenges are getting used to the new system. Every batch of beer was slightly different, so we had to tweak things. And again, going back to mentors, had we had a really good mentor, they would have walked us through, like, this is what you can do to test your system, to dial in all the numbers before you even brew your first batch of beer. So something we learned the hard way. For that first month, we were still tuning in the system, but after that, we were firing on all cylinders. I think some of the challenges, we opened up very bootstrapped. We were a very low budget company. We wanted to try to bootstrap as much as possible.
What do you mean by bootstrap?
We're just a lean startup. We didn't have a lot of capital behind us, and it's a very capital intensive building.
Yeah. Did you had mentioned previously something about SBA? Did you end up getting a loan?
We didn't. No, the SBA. There's some challenges getting an SBA loan that we weren't able to qualify for.
Especially in the beginning, right? The first upcoming years.
Yeah.
They look at that.
And that's kind of what they said is if you're open for 12 months, then come back to us. But at that point, we didn't need the loan, so we just didn't get it. But we ended up bootstrapping it mostly through my retirement and then some key investors, family, friends, a fellow Rotarian who's an amazing human being that I look to as a mentor as well. And for $250,000, we opened a business essentially. And
that's awesome.
For a business like this, they say you should have at least $1 million to be able to open your doors, or you won't last a year. So we're happy to make it past the first year. Every year we're happy to make it to that next level. And now we have new equipment, bigger equipment. We have a canning line. We're packaging our own beer. We have our own lab here on site, so we can do our lab work and do our different critical control points throughout the entire process. So it's started out way too lean. I wish we had all that stuff from day one, but
hey, but you made it happen.
You have to burn the boats. You have to just make a decision to do it and do it.
Exactly. I'm very big on, like, if you don't know how to make money without money, how do you think you're gonna make money with money? Like, you're probably going to get yourself in more trouble,
Absolutely. And I think, it's interesting to see the changing trends. I think we're continually learning, and as the market's changing, the economy is changing, the community is changing, we're having to make tweaks over and over and over again and see what works. And, I won't say throw spaghetti against the wall and see, which ones stick, but we try to do it a little bit more measured and smarter than that.
Go off of more data?
Yeah, but we're constantly tweaking and learning and failing and tweaking, learning and failing, and tweaking, learning and failing as we slowly get those gold nuggets that help us to succeed. So it's there was a lot to overcome the first year and second year, even into the third year, and then going into the pandemic where
the pandemic was big, huh? It was trouble.
I think it's there are those 5 things you always have to worry about in a business, and we added a 6th with government. The government just choosing to close different businesses and to keep them closed when other businesses could reopen was something that was challenging to overcome. But again, you find out what we're blessed to have such a great community. We just reached out and asked them what they needed and found out people were uncomfortable going to the grocery store, and if you had basic goods. So we worked with our local dairy, and we're providing his milk so people could pick it up, and eggs and flour and whatever we could do to help meet the needs of our wonderful community who had grown to love us. So
that's awesome.
Found out what they needed, and we provided it, and that helped us keep the doors open, and hopefully we keep the doors open moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. And what would you say are like the main keys to your success? I mean, I definitely hear a lot of persistency, but what else?
Yeah, I think we're too young to say success at this point, but the keys that helped us get where we are, I think one is persistence, but probably paramount is community. I mean, we've built a great community, and we're continuing to build a great community. It's actually the question I ask myself at least every day is, how do I serve more? How do I build this community more? What can I do to create raving fans that absolutely love this place? And as we're opening up new communities, we're having the same conversation there. Why do we want to go into a community? What are we trying to accomplish? How are we trying to build? Because to me, that's what it's all about. It's craftsmanship and community, making really good product in the back and trying to create a community in the front, creating that place where people can gather and have conversations. So I think those are kind of the key things: is persistence, a really high quality product, and falling in love with your customer.
Definitely.
And serving them.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised. You know, I've been talking to a lot of entrepreneurs, and they don't know about the Rotary Club, the chamber in their city, right? All those things that you should really, as a business owner, be involved in. That's a lot of good networking. You built a lot of good relationships, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you get out what you put in.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
If you're joining and just paying a fee and not going to anything, not getting involved with anything, you're not going to get anything out of it. But
Exactly.
the chamber is, it's made up of other businesses, and usually led by businesses that have been around for a while and been really successful. So joining the chamber, I always recommend. That's the first thing. Even at the American Cancer Society, when building a community,
Yeah.
that's one of the first places we go, is to the chamber. We meet with the executive directors and pick their brain about who the movers and shakers are, and what works, what doesn't work. So I'm a big fan of Chamber of Commerce. We're a member of Montebello, and we're trying to join LA Chamber as well. Rotary is, I always recommend for people to get involved with their community, but I do it for what Rotary does for the community.
Yes.
And again, I think that's, you have to look at it through that lens of what am I giving to Rotary, not what am I getting back. The more you give, the more you'll end up getting back. But it's about putting the motto, service above self. It's about serving more than it is about receiving.
Definitely.
But to me, it's really important about becoming embedded, finding out what makes a community tick. And I've always been a joiner from back in the day of being a Boy Scout, and all the way till now, where I have a hard time saying no when somebody asks me to join. So it's
Okay.
I'm a big believer in getting involved and trying to make a difference. So Rotary Club and chambers are really important to me.
Awesome, awesome. So where do you see the vision of Angry Horse? I mean, you mentioned a little bit right now. Are you going to try to open in other cities, or what's the vision?
Yeah, so we're working on trying to open up more tap rooms. Our goal is within the next 12 months to have a second tap room location open. We'd like to expand our production. We're trying to expand our statewide distribution to get a little bit more depth. Eventually, we want to start migrating over to Arizona, where we grew up. We have plenty of people that want our beer over there. We just don't produce enough to ship it right now. So we're working on trying to expand our production so we can be statewide in California, Arizona, and possibly even Nevada within the next 3 to 5 years.
Awesome. What part of Arizona?
We grew up in northern Arizona, but we're working, we've been collaborating with some distributors in the Phoenix area that are statewide. So they partner with other distributors in northern Arizona.
Okay.
We grew up in northern Arizona, Kingman area.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Kingman. Yeah, I lived in Phoenix for like 2 years, so.
Oh, cool.
It's super hot. You always need a beer out there for sure.
And there's some great breweries out there. There's some really close friends that have great breweries, and we'd just be blessed to be part of that community as well.
So what's the craziest thing you've done in business?
Opening a brewery.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the craziest things. We also, we've done some things recently, just doubling down into marketing, trying to get our brand out there, make people more aware of us, and we're trying to figure out that side of things. So,
how do you do that, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so right now we're doing a lot through social media. We're doing text campaigns, email campaigns. We took out some ads in newspapers and tried to measure the effectiveness of that. We also are, again, going back to community, we're really big on strategic partnerships. So we got really involved with our friends company, again, trying to support other entrepreneurs, does like EDM festivals. So we tried to be the official beer for that EDM festival and did a co-branded beer for them. We're working on some very strategic partnerships in LA County for different things that we think are fun and we like to do ourselves, so we're trying to partner with those guys. So strategic partnerships are one of the big ways that we're looking at trying to expand our reach a little bit and get people more aware of us, especially when it comes to the things that we like to do as a team. So like movies in the park and
Yeah.
different things like that. But also, sailing clubs and different things. So we're trying to partner and get involved with that way and try to expand our reach that way.
Amazing.
But
Okay.
I won't say we figured this all out entirely. We're working with a great company that's helping us to market a little bit more efficiently, and a great organization that helps manufacturers in the state of California as well. So hopefully with all these different partnerships, we can grow our marketing and grow our base. Our goal is a 10% increase in customers here in the Montebello tap room. So
Oh, okay.
it's being the increase we've seen year over year. This is very realistic, but to expect it over and over year, I don't know how hard it's going to be. It's possible, but it might be a little bit of a stretch. So we'll see.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, collecting data is big in business. How do you do that?
Ah, great question. I mean, I'm a bit of a geek, so I love data. So our POS gives us a lot of data. We've actually does have some limitations. The biggest one right now is zip code. Our current POS doesn't give us zip code of the credit card, where almost every other credit card processor does.
Oh, okay.
So we have to data mine a little bit more. We have to build a little bit better of a relationship so people are willing to give us their zip code.
Yeah.
And we do that all electronically. We don't do it here in the tap room, really. We also have an ERP that unifies all of our data. So it pulls in everything from the POS. It pulls in everything from our sales, our manufacturing, purchases, across the board. Does all of our inventory management. So it's just a wealth of data that we've really barely touched the surface on. And the more data that we have in there, the more we're going to be able to start building some models and playing with some of that data. Not only with marketing and customers, but also in the back of house as well. Once we have done enough batches, we can really start looking at yeast trends over years and what beers are fermenting in what different ways at what different temperatures and yielding to what different results. So being a little bit data geeky, I love gathering the data so that eventually we can start consuming it.
That's good because then that way you can make decisions based on
Yeah.
whatever's trending or whatever it is that you feel like you're going to need more of down the line, right?
Yeah, even with events. I mean, we do a lot of events here, from comedy nights to locals only nights to open mic nights, and the data about what the expenses are of those nights. Did it generate more revenue? Did we have higher labor costs? And at the end of the day, does it all pan out? And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes that we're going to not do as well financially this day,
Yeah.
but we're going to get 100 new people that become raving fans and come back. So the lifetime of that customer is worth more now that they know that we exist.
Definitely.
But if you're not looking at any of that data, if you don't have measurable outcomes you want to see from it, you're just throwing spaghetti against the wall, and we try not to do that.
Definitely.
Again, we're
I
very
agree.
lean. We try not to throw spaghetti very much.
No, yeah, I totally agree. That's what I gotta kind of get better at. So, yeah, we got our CRM right now. We're tracking like where the patients come from, what type of patient they are, so that way you can make better, more informed decisions when it comes to marketing, because it's super important.
Absolutely. And when you think of a brewery, it's several different businesses in one, because we have the tap room where we're direct to consumer. So that's, getting people in the doors here.
Yeah.
We also do direct to consumer through our website, where people can go online, they can order our beer, they can subscribe to our beer, where they just get it delivered monthly.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of its own separate e-commerce business that
Yeah.
we're really trying to figure out still.
And where do you ship to? Nationwide? Or?
Right now, we're just California.
California.
There are several different states that offer direct to consumer.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to slowly expand more and more. But again, you have to have a plan to go into those states so that you can hit that critical mass quickly to make it worthwhile to ship that far.
Yeah.
And to pay the fees to get the licenses and all that fun stuff, because every state has a different licensing process. So
That's true.
it's something we eventually want to do, but we want to build out a good model so that it can become a cookie cutter. So that if we want to, hypothetically go into Oregon, we can really focus on Oregon, hit critical mass within X number of months, and then the next community.
Move on to the next state.
And one of the ways that we're trying to identify which states we want to go to is just feedback from customers, where we have people go onto our website on a daily basis, and at least once a week we hear somebody from a different part of the country saying, how do I get your beer in Tennessee? How do I get your beer in Texas? So we're taking all that data as well of, okay, we already have 300 people in Texas that have asked us for our product over every other state.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's where we should focus our time and attention.
Yes.
But yeah, that's another segment of our business. Doing distribution, that's a whole nother segment of the business, a whole nother marketing plan. Because what you market in the tap room isn't necessarily going to sell beer to wholesalers, to liquor stores, to Bevmo, Total Wines.
Yeah.
And it isn't necessarily going to move that beer out of those Total Wines. So that's a whole nother business. Brewing beer is a different business entirely. And then if you're self-distributing, there's the logistics side of things as well. Could be looked at as a whole separate business, separate sales team. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to take the different components and measure their effectiveness and what's working, what's not working. And I think that's when breweries who do a good job measuring that, it helps them make decisions about, self-distribution over hiring a distributor, or not hiring, partnering with a distributor. But if you're not measuring it, you're just doing things willy-nilly, which we did early on. So we're trying to do a better job looking at the data, measuring the data, and making data-minded business decisions.
Awesome. Yeah, you gotta. I mean, sometimes you'll make mistakes in business, but you gotta learn, adapt quickly.
Yeah, if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying. You're not pushing yourself hard enough. If you're not making mistakes, you're probably leaving a lot at the table. You're not serving the way that you could be serving your community.
Definitely.
That's what business is all about, is taking measured risks and making mistakes and failing fast. The more that you fail fast, and the more you get to success. So
Okay.
fail fast, work your way towards success. If
Yeah.
you're going to do something, try it, test it. It's A/B testing, I think, is really important. And make good decisions, learn from those failures and move forward.
Excellent. So for the new aspiring entrepreneurs, I mean, what advice can you give them if they want to start a business?
I mean, I don't know if I'm in the position where I could give really great advice. I'd say the one thing is
Or just some tips,
making the decision, number one, that you're going to go into business is the biggest thing. Like, burn the boats, make the decision, take action. Action is the number one thing.
Yeah.
Fall in love with your customer. You can fall in love with your product and have the best product in the world, but if it's a product that's really amazing that your customers don't want to buy, or if it costs too much they don't want to pay for it, it could be the best thing in the world, but nobody will ever buy it. So fall in love with your customers, and that'll help you to make better product decisions down the road.
Definitely.
And that, I think, can go across the board. If you're brewing beer, if you're developing a mobile app, if you're building an online store, across the board, know who you want to sell to, fall in love with them, find out what their needs are, and meet their needs. Not to say that we do that all the time, but that's what we try to do, we aspire to do, and we work on continually. Other than that, find people to learn from, ask them for help, ask people to be mentors. The more people that you can have in your camp, in your corner, the better. No business is built alone. Having good people, whether that's mentors or a staff team that make you better, is, I think, paramount. People are important. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you think of these huge companies, Costco, you think the CEO goes to every Costco or works there? No, like, they've built the team, the systems, the processes. So it's going to take time to get there, but eventually that's what you want to strive for.
Absolutely. Finding the right people early is important, and also knowing when to get rid of people. I mean, a lot of times people in business know that somebody isn't working out a week, 2 weeks in, or even the day that they come in their first day of work. And I think sometimes people are afraid to admit to themselves it's an ego thing. It's hard to admit that I made a mistake hiring the wrong person. And I think that's something that a lot of people have. So, knowing when somebody isn't working out, not necessarily throwing them under the bus and letting them go, but finding a way to get them where they need to be quickly, or offering them an exit strategy quickly is important, so you can find the right person. Getting the right people in your bus is important, both on the back of house, and then also whether that's a mastermind, a board of directors, a support network to toss ideas to, getting involved with organizations in your industry. We're involved with the LA Brewers Guild, the California Craft Brewers Association, the Master Brewers Association, American Society of Brewing Chemists. The more that we are around people that are really good at what they do when it comes to making beer, marketing beer, selling beer, the better. So that as we run into some brick walls, we can reach out to somebody and say, hey, we've hit this brick wall. We really need some help. Have you ever seen this before? And they say, oh yeah. about 5 years in, right where you are, we ran into the same brick wall, and this is what we had to do.
Yeah.
It took us, 3 years to do it, but now that we've learned that knowledge, we're able to do it in 1 year instead of 3 years.
Definitely.
So I think having that network of people that you continually are building, that again, you're not only getting from, but you're giving to. You're offering feedback. You're bringing more people on board, and it's the same thing I tell other breweries when they first open, is to get involved with these organizations. And I usually give them my card or my cell phone number and say, if you ever need something, reach out. Like we're here to help you be successful. It's
Yeah.
so it's
Okay.
building that network, I think, is important.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you so much, Nathan, for letting us come to your beautiful brewery. It's amazing. It's here in the city of Montebello. And just give the audience, where can they reach you or reach the brewery? Give us your best contacts.
Yeah, so our website is angryhorsebrewing.com. We can also be reached at info@angryhorsebrewing.com. Probably the best way to get us is through those two methods, but we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We also have a newsletter that people can subscribe to. So that's probably the best way to reach us.
Where do they go to the newsletter? On your website?
Yeah, right on our website. You can subscribe right there, and we send it out about once every week or two. So we try not to inundate people and try to be very brief in those emails, but probably the best way to reach us, or just come here to our tap room at 603 West Whittier Boulevard.
Yeah, it's good stuff. My favorite beer is Purple AF. It's a hibiscus.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, come pay Nathan a visit, and got a lot of amazing, great tasting beer. So thank you again, Nathan. I appreciate you having us, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode of Making Feria.